David, you're cooked. Durk, you might be cooked. Big U, I'm not sure yet. There's a whole bunch of trials that are going on right now, or they will be going on soon. There's currently a lot of legal, preemptive work that needs to be done before some of the biggest names in rap and music and just crime at large actually go on trial. And I am probably going to be there. So if you've been following this channel for a little while, you'll know that I've now attended 2 court dates for David, their preliminary hearings for his trial. I know some people are mad because I said David trial day 2. It's really just like, the lead up, the whole thing, even the preliminary, it's all just wrapped up and leading up to his trial, okay? Like, I'll retitle those going forward. But basically, okay, I've been to 2 David court dates so far. I wanted to go to the Aunt Hefe court date, but they didn't actually announce that where it was going to be held until after it happened. So anyway, I unfortunately missed that one, but I'm pretty sure going forward, maybe not every date, okay, but any key dates related to some of these cases, I'm going to try and attend them in person because I want to go further than the journalism that I've been doing. I want to give you guys way more insight to actually what's going on in the courtroom. I know I can't film in the courtroom, but I'm currently working on some things behind the scenes to ensure that I'm going to be able to be at every trial possible. So in this video, I'm going to give you an update on all of the trials that are currently going on, and not just LA, right? You might know that I'll be in LA. I went to the courthouse, but I'm talking anywhere in America. I might actually fly out and attend some of these trials in person just so I can keep track of what's going on. Because you know what? It turns out that in America, right, as an American, you got the right to observe justice as it's happening, okay? I think that's beautiful. In the UK, you can attend some kind of trials. Some hearings, you're not allowed to attend. Some hearings don't even have judges in the UK. How crazy is that? Or juries, they just let a magistrate just decide. He just decide what your fate is. But anyway, in this video, I'm going to let you know all the updates on the upcoming court dates, and I'm going to give you guys just some background onto what's going on with these cases. And I want you guys to let me know in the comments which court dates you want me to attend to, which trial dates. I'm going to try and attend a few of them. Maybe I can't get to all of them, but you guys let me know in the comments which cases you want me to attend at trial, at preliminary, in person. I will go and sit in the courtroom. I'll go and look Lil Durk eye to eye, right? And I'm going to keep track of what's going on. So this is the first update that I'm going to give you guys, okay? So obviously the biggest case that we've been covering on this channel is the David case, okay? We're currently awaiting an update on the David case. Obviously the filing date, he was arrested on the 16th of April. The actual official charges were filed against him on 4/20 of all days, all right? So he's getting smoked at trial. And these are the serious charges, okay? It's a lot. All right, not just murder, but it's the special allegation of murder to prevent testimony, murder for financial gain, continuous essay of a child. These are serious charges, all right? So basically, all right, he has got a couple of dates coming up. He has got June the 17th for a preliminary hearing and June the 29th for a further preliminary hearing. Now, I wonder whether this is something that's going to be kind of, ramping up, or whether there's going to be so much discovery that they might put off the more serious dates and, we might not get a trial until next year. It really depends how much evidence the prosecutors are handing over to the defense, how much the defense are actually getting through, and, how much of a fight David's going to put up. Who knows? And bear in mind, all of these trials could suddenly end with basically just like someone taking a guilty plea. David could have a change of heart, take a guilty plea. He could pull a Jeffrey Epstein and check out. You know what I'm saying? Anything could happen. This date might not even happen, okay? We could be so lucky for him to, Epstein his way out of the situation. But anyway, we want to see him face real justice. So this is the David update, all right? There will be a couple of dates going on next month. There was supposed to be a date, I believe, tomorrow. I believe it got rescheduled. There was a previous date that I actually went to the courthouse for that ended up getting rescheduled on the day. So I didn't end up going to that one. But yeah, I've seen David in the flesh twice. Now, having attended the trial, at least the first time I went, there was a very big update. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I was in Vegas when the big paperwork dropped. And I was actually mad at myself that I didn't go for that one. So I'm going to be checking out the David trial. I would like to attend these dates, but let's see how it all works out. So next up, of course, is my guy, the voice. Okay, Lil Durk. So Lil Durk, he is apparently expected to be getting a superseding indictment. Rumor has it, okay, the new charges might be dropping on Durk on the 3rd of June, okay? It's been teased. We heard a few rumors about it last week, but now rumor has it that they might actually be hitting Durk with a superseding indictment. They might hit him with another murder, and they might hit him with attempted murder from the case back in the day. So this is an article kind of talking about the situation. I did give you guys an update on this a couple of days ago, and a lot of channels have kind of updated everybody on the situation with Durk's other alleged murder. And I'm going to do a video later today about another alleged murder that they haven't yet put on Durk, but if they do put on Durk, he's going to be in a whole world of pain. So it says exclusive, Lil Durk's case grows heavier as prosecutors weigh more charges. So he might not even have a court date before this superseding indictment drops. I would love to attend any one of Durk's court dates, any OTF member court date. I'm locked in, I'm down, I'm going to pull up. All right, unfortunately for you guys. But basically, they're saying that, Durk might not even get a day in court before he basically ends up catching another body. So it says Durk's case could expand after prosecutors signaled they may add an older Chicago and Atlanta incident before the trial. Lil Durk and his co-defendants are facing the possibility of new charges in their federal murder-for-hire case, with prosecutors signaling they may expand the indictment before the matter heads to trial. The possible explanation surfaced in a May 21 court filing from DeAndre Wilson, DD, one of Durk's co-defendants, with Wilson asking a federal judge to reconsider his detention and let him out on bond while the case moves forward. His filing said prosecutors informed defense lawyers on May 13 they're considering extra charges by June the 3rd. The new charges would add 2 alleged incidents as direct evidence: the 2022 murder of Stephon Mack, an op of Durk's, allegedly get back for his brother D-Thang, allegedly, I believe, the brother or cousin of 051 Melly that got killed. Very, very historic beef in Chicago, right? And a 2019 Atlanta incident where Von, Bezu, Durk, and a guy called Hella Bands basically shot and allegedly shot someone in the leg and stole some money from him. It's crazy when you think about it, because my knowledge of that incident is very deep, and it was 4 people that did the attempted murder robbery, and 3 of them are now dead apart from Lil Durk. How crazy is that? Anyway, it says this could create a major timing problem for all parties, because Wilson's lawyers say the added charges would knock the case off its current August 20th, 2026 trial date, requiring new arraignments, more discovery, additional motions, and more investigation. So I was looking forward to attending the trial in August 2026. Even I thought that was a little bit soon. I think originally it was going to be April, and there was even talk it was going to be last year. But if they're going to add a whole new body to the case, I think that Durk is going to need a heck of a lot more time to digest this, and his lawyers are going to need to go back and try and find any excuse they can for all these hits. So it says Wilson's lawyers say the 2 incidents don't even involve him, and that's the core of his freedom bid. He argues he should not remain jailed for months while lawyers prepare for events where prosecutors don't even place him at the scene. The Atlanta matter traces back to January 2019, when the shooting near the Varsity restaurant in downtown Atlanta occurred. Fox 5 Atlanta reported at the time that Durk had felony charges in that case before the Fulton County District Attorney's Office dropped them in 2022. That included criminal attempt to commit murder, aggravated assault, participation in criminal street gang activity, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The victim was shot in the leg after an argument. Why on earth is Indie Club advertised in the middle of this? There's some promo going on. So they tried to file to dismiss this. Prosecutors reviewed the facts, and they initially chose not to prosecute, even though probable cause had existed for Durk's arrest. For some reason, they decided Durk was involved, since some of the people he affiliated with were involved in the shooting. We strongly denied that. All right. So Durk and their crew, they're just in shock, thinking, how on earth are you going to put this on us? You dropped it, but you didn't beat it. You never beat those charges. They dropped those charges. They basically let those charges go because Von was dead, and they said, you know what? We're going to let you go off into the world and do more dumb shit and do more hits, incriminate yourself, and we're just going to throw this back on you when we feel like it. Not rocket science. And Durk was dumb enough to think, yeah, bet. He'd already allegedly committed the murder for hire a couple months before, and then they'd gone and dropped this. He's thinking, yeah, I'm scot-free. This is great. Let's drop a whole album. Let's drop a whole Loyal Bros album where we're just letting everybody know that we do all these crimes. Very silly. So the Chicago matter involves the January 2022 killing of Stephon Mack outside of Roseland Community Center. ABC 7 Chicago reported in December 2024 that unsealed court records claim Durk was behind the fatal shooting, but Durk hadn't yet been charged in that killing. What is happening is they are trying to get the guys that shot Stephon Mack dead to turn on Durk. They got him on the wiretap text conversations talking about, did Durk send you the money yet? And these guys don't want to go down. And they're lucky, because rarely can you commit a Chicago gangland murder and have anyone above you that's actually worth snitching on. But you guys have actually got the big fish. So it wouldn't surprise me if one of the guys that actually killed Stephon Mack is going to snitch on Durk, get themselves out of a jam. They got free body. Why not just stitch Durk up and then just ride off into the sunset? So prosecutors basically want to use the Chicago and Atlanta incidents as direct evidence in the federal case, even though they predate the murder of Quando Rondo, which is at the heart of the indictment. It's interesting, right? Because I'm probably one of the most educated people on this topic, and a lot of people don't seem to fathom, like, oh, why would they use that as direct evidence? Like, they both predate, because it's all part of one criminal enterprise that's known as OTF, Only the Family. All right. You know what I mean? We can all lie to ourselves and say, oh, OTF is just a label. OTF was a branch of the BDs, all right? Black Disciple Street Gang, okay? Everyone was a BD. OTF originally stood for Only Tray Folks, all right? You had to throw up the trays. You had to throw up your threes. If you wanted to be Only the Family, you wanted to be OTF, it was Only Tray Folks, Only Trays, Only BDs. BDs like King Von. That's what it was, okay? And in 2019... them BDs was running around robbing, what's his name? Alexander Witherspoon at the varsity, shooting him in the leg, attempted to kill him and rob him. Y'all was running around on BD business. When Durk's brother D-Thang got killed, they was doing getbacks. That happened before the Lil Pab. King Von gets killed. He's doing interstate getbacks. All right? He fucked up. He's in a lot of trouble. So, says Wilson's been in custody since his initial appearance, November 15th, 2024. He's already spent 18 months behind bars before trial begins, but the government is opposing his request for release, and the broader case against Durk remains severe. I'm seeing a lot of people, shout out to Mo Gangat. He's I would say one of the strongest soldiers when it comes to pushing cope on the Durk case. I wouldn't say misinformation, but he's definitely pushing that cope, right? People get mad when I say Durk's cook, but a lot of people pushing that cope. Durk was arrested October 2024 near an airport after prosecutors said he was booked on multiple international flights. The Justice Department said he was charged in the superseding federal indictment, alleging he conspired with others to kill a rival rapper in Los Angeles, a plot prosecutors tied to the 2020 killing of King Von in Atlanta. And if you would catch an attempted murders with King Von in 2019, yeah, that's relevant. Okay, the case stems from August 19th, 2022, shooting near the Beverly Center, where the intended target was Quando Rondo, but Lil Pab was killed instead in broad daylight. It was an accident. Okay, Durk's pled not guilty, been denied bond. As of May 2022, the joint trial remains set for August 20th. But if they drop that other body on him on June the 3rd, it is likely that he will be getting his trial delayed significantly. So the next person who I perhaps will be attending the trial, in this case perhaps wearing a bulletproof vest, is of course the trial of Big U. Is there a better version of this article that I can show you? My internet is broken. My internet's broken. It's trash, right? I keep having to pause the video to show you. Like, where's the picture of Big U? Internet's frozen. Nothing's loading right now. Hang on. So this is the Big U trial. If you don't know about this stuff, Big U was essentially, allegedly the leader of the Rollin' 60 Crips, arguably the most fearsome and known, set of Crips coming out of Los Angeles. So he's still awaiting trial in a federal racketeering case out of Los Angeles. It's not dissimilar to Durk's situation, although that's more of a federal interstate situation as far as, I mean, it is actually kind of similar because the murder in the Big U case took place in Nevada rather than LA. The Durk situation took place in LA, but he's from Chicago. And just last month, he was also denied bail. So we're actually waiting for an update. But from what I understand, we actually believe that he's probably not going to get his trial until 2027 because it's been pushed back. But let me give you the backstory on this so you're up to date. So this says LA hip-hop entrepreneur accused gang leader Big U denied bail, and this was on the 22nd of April. So it said, while prosecutors describe Eugene Henley Jr. as a danger to potential witnesses, his defense attorney portrayed him as a peaceable man who has left the gang life long behind. So it says Los Angeles, a South LA hip-hop entrepreneur and community organizer who feds accuse of being a longtime leader of the Rollin' 60 Crips street gang will remain jailed while awaiting trial on racketeering charges. Eugene Big U Henley Jr. appeared for a detention hearing Tuesday morning in a downtown LA courtroom packed with family and supporters. U.S. Magistrate Judge A. Joel Richlin acknowledged the unusually large turnout from Henley's supporters, but agreed with the government that there was sufficient evidence that Henley 58 was a flight risk as well as there being a danger to the community, rejecting Henley's bid to be released on bail. So he last appeared for a detention hearing Tuesday before this article, which was April the 22nd, so over a month ago now. At the downtown LA courtroom, it was packed with family and supporters. The magistrate judge acknowledged the unusually large turnout from Big U supporters. So I don't know, I might want to be careful if I'm there with all the Big U, the Rollin' 60s. But I don't really have a problem with the Rollin' 60s, but they might not let me be in there. But they agreed with the government that there was sufficient evidence that Big U was a flight risk as well as a danger to the community, and they rejected Henley's bid to be released on bail. So there's a lot of evidence of obstruction of justice, and the U.S. Assistant Attorney Kevin Butler argued at the hearing that Henley, who he described as the self-professed most dangerous man in L.A., would be a threat to potential witnesses and others whom he blames for his indictment. Whack 100. The prosecutor cited a video that Henley posted on Instagram after he initially evaded arrest last month before he self-surrendered, in which he names by their monikers various associates he believed were responsible for his predicament. Soon after, Butler said another associate of Henley posted on social media calling for those who Henley named in the video to be killed. Not a good look. In addition, the prosecutor said anonymous victims of Henley have approached law enforcement but are unwilling to testify. If there's a risk, he'll be let out on bail and can seek them out. Butler told the judge that one potential witness asked the government, "If you can't even arrest him, how are you going to protect me?" Arturo Hernandez Melendez, Henley's attorney, painted a very different picture of the defendant and told the judge he was a peaceful gentleman who was working for his neighborhood. The purported evidence, the lawyer said, was nothing but innuendo, and the statements the government claims show Henley was engaged in criminal activity were just the persona that Henley uses to show youngsters what kind of man he used to be as part of his efforts to steer them away from gang involvement. Now, that's a reach, all right? Listen, this persona that he puts across that he's a mob boss, he's just letting the kids know what, you know what I'm saying, what a mob boss he used to be back in the day to steer them away. Henley, I got a big you made it look cool to be a mob boss, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, Big U's accused of running a criminal enterprise engaging in murder, extortion, and human trafficking. Prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office in L.A. say he lined his own pockets with government funding and celebrity donations for his non-profit organization Developing Options. According to the government, Henley has been masquerading as a reformed gang member and legit businessman for a while. In fact, he was running a criminal operation that ruled the city through violence, fear, and intimidation. While his criminal enterprise is separate from the Rolling 60s, prosecutors say he uses gang members as part of his extortion schemes. Among other charges, Henley is accused of kidnapping and murdering an aspiring musician, Ray Sean Williams, 4 years ago in Las Vegas, purportedly in retaliation for a diss track in which he respected Henley. Now, I don't know if that's the real reason, but we might find out when it gets to trial. It says Williams was one of the recording artists for Unique Music, the independent record label that Henley co-founded. According to federal investigators, that rapper had made fun of wasting time in the studio and of Henley as the bro that makes some money. Look, I don't know if I believe that version of events, but hey, it is what it is. And prosecutors also accused Henley of extorting celebrities and athletes, such as NBA players that visit LA to party and gamble. They were required to check in with him to first guarantee their protection while in the city. According to a confidential witness cited by investigators, a large buy-in dice game occurred in LA in June 2019, and the game involved a professional boxer identified only as AB. Wonder who that is, right? Wonder who that is. I've seen this guy on a live stream yesterday. And his associates who fixed the game and cheated some prominent NBA players out of millions of dollars using teased dice. Because AB hadn't checked in with Henley, he purportedly sent some Rolling 60 gang members to rough up the boxer and recover money for the debt. Recover the money for the NBA players. They in turn had to pay Henley $100K to negotiate the debt, according to the government. Henley made a name for himself as a Rolling 60s fighter during the 1980s. When gang warfare was ravaging South LA, he also began to manage hip-hop artists who associated with the gang and helped start the career of Nipsey Hussle. After finishing a long prison sentence for robbery in 2004, he started to portray himself as a reformed man who was focusing on helping his community. This, according to the government, was just a facade, and he used his standing as an original gangster, or OG, to run a criminal enterprise. According to an intercepted call in 2023, Big U told an associate he was far from retired. He said, "I'm retired, N-word, activist. I'll pull up on your block right now and show up and show out." He said, "That's what happened to the last dudes that thought I was retired." Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to be. That's gonna be a spicy case. That's for real. So the case has officially been pushed back to 2027. It's gonna be a little while until we see this one get resolved. So this is an update from Our Prophet. It says Big U's had his trial date pushed back from this month to February 2023, which will almost be 2 years after he and his co-conspirators' initial arrest. According to attorneys, they have a whopping 1.1 million items to go through, including tens of thousands of wiretapped calls and thousands of surveillance videos. They were watching this guy for years. Henley's lawyers warn that if they go to trial without having additional time to prepare for it, they risk ineffective assistance of counsel. Henley himself isn't the only person who wanted to have the trial happen this May. The U.S. Attorney's Office also pushed back on the idea of it being set set next year. In a brief filed days after the initial request for a change date, the U.S. Attorney's Office called the request a last-minute reversal and claimed the defense team had more than enough prep time to go through the evidence. Another alleged issue is that the prosecutors say is happening is ongoing witness intimidation. They claim that every additional month the case is delayed can lead to more people being put in danger. One cooperating witness whose identity was said on social media has already had his house vandalized. That is crazy, okay? So another person that's connected to this case, but they're not really on the same charges, is my guy, my homie, Brick Baby, okay? Brick Baby's been waiting for an update in his case for quite some time, okay? I've spoken to Brick on the phone a few times, and we're waiting for a big update for Brick in the same jail as Durk. He locked up with Big U, you know what I'm saying? Not the same as David, but they all locked him. So this says Brick Baby begs judge for mercy as long prison sentence looms over the Rolling 60s case. So he did plead guilty in the situation. He's waiting for a sentencing. There was rumors that maybe there'd been some, prosecutors had maybe done him a little bit dirty when it came to, his plea and what he was expecting to get out of the plea and all those kinds of things, man. And so it says Brick Baby seeking a reduced prison term while distancing himself from a sweeping gang case, pointing to a past marked by hardship. Brick Baby's facing federal prison time tied to the sweeping Rolling 60s crackdown. Now he's asking for a judge to look beyond the indictment and focus on a life shaped by trauma and survival. Brick Baby pleaded guilty to being a felon in possession of a firearm after his name surfaced in a broader federal case tied to the Rolling 60s neighborhood creeps. So that investigation was built over several years and targeted what federal authorities described as a network connected to the Rolling 60s and an alleged criminal enterprise led by Big U. So the indictment accused Henley of running a mafia-like organization tied to crimes ranging from fraud to violence with multiple associates and affiliates charged along the way, but Brick Baby's role in that broader case centers on the firearm charge, not the more serious racketeering allegations. So authorities specifically charged him, along with others, with being a felon in possession of a firearm during the takedown that was tied to that group of 6 O's. Now as sentencing approaches, Brick Baby is asking the court to separate his personal story from the weight of the larger case. According to his defense filing, he faces a guideline sentence between 63 and 78 months. That's so much, that's ridiculous. But he's asking for 57 months instead. His legal team is arguing that the higher range reflects an inflated criminal history rather than who he is today. Free Brick, man. He ain't really do nothing too crazy. They make it clear he's not denying responsibility. The filing states that he's accepted responsibility for his conduct, pled guilty to a single count of being a felon in possession of a firearm. But what they push hard on is the backstory. Brick Baby describes what his attorneys frame as a rough upbringing rooted in loss and instability. As a child, he lost a brother he saw as a father figure, leaving him without guidance at a critical time. That absence, they argue, led him towards the streets and early contact with the criminal justice system. Violence followed him well into adulthood. He survived 2 separate shootings, including one that left him with a spinal injury and partial paralysis. Those experiences, combined with ongoing exposure to violence, contributed to diagnoses of PTSD, depression, and anxiety. His attorneys argue those details matter when weighing punishment. They claim his criminal history category overstates his past, pointing to older and non-violent offenses that increased his sentencing range. Some of those include minor cases and technical violations that, in their view, do not reflect a pattern of serious or escalating conduct. They also highlight what they describe as a shift in his life. Okay, and Brick's still posting on YouTube. He's given his updates on a jail phone. I've done a few calls with him, so shout out to Brick, man. Says before his arrest, he was working as in entertainment as a rapper and a podcaster, earning income and supporting his family. Letters submitted to the court portray him as a consistent presence in his children's lives, with one stating that he's been there for her in every way imaginable. Still, the backdrop of the Rolling 60s case looms over everything. Federal authorities have made it clear that the broader indictment was aimed at dismantling what they alleged is an organized criminal network tied to the gang and its associates. Even for defendants facing narrower charges, that context carries weight in how the case is viewed publicly and legally. Brick Baby's argument comes down to distance. His legal team's asking the court to treat him as an individual, not a symbol of a larger indictment tied to Big U in the 60s. The judge will ultimately decide whether that distinction is sufficient to justify the request for a 57-month sentence. So we don't know when this is going to take place. I'm going to try and pull up. Okay, I will definitely try and pull up and show some love to Brick while he's working things out in this situation, man. Super sad to hear that is what it's come to, man. Obviously, the other case that we're all waiting for, this is a new one. It's Aunt Hefe from No Jumper. Now, basically, okay, this is... Hang on a minute. Is that who I think it is? Damn. I hadn't actually seen this yet. So they're saying that basically, Aunt Hefe, real name Maurice Shellman, he was arrested. He was a no-jumper host. He was arrested by the LAPD on a felony murder charge. Everyone was trying to find out what was going on with that. You know, there was 3 different murders that were touted as the alleged murders that he was involved in. Now, obviously, I made a video about the first one, talking about how everyone else was talking about it and talking about how it was on Reddit, but, you know, it was unconfirmed. And then they were saying there was another situation, then come to find out it's a whole separate situation. Okay, and now they're saying that the person that actually was killed is this guy, Lil Lowdown, from the 8 Tray Gangsters. They're saying this is an OG, that YA and a couple of other 8 Tray Gangster members are being accused of beating to death. So we hadn't really seen too much about this individual. He goes by the name of Carl Welch, and essentially there was a few pictures of him going around. Says there's some pretty grimy. All right, summon me for a DP at age 40 plus. It's disrespectful, man. Okay, but anyway, he basically will be back in court, I believe, on June the 5th. So just about 11 days or so from now. So this is Aunt Hefe's booking information. You know, Maurice Keandre Shellman. Basically, you know, this is him showing his arrest date of the 19th of May. They increased his bail. I think it started at like just over $1 million. Then they've increased it to $2.05 million. And basically, it's going to be his next court date on the 5th of June. Okay, so might pull up to that one if I can make it. I do hope that, you know, we can get to the bottom of this situation, because it was very mysterious. And like I say, there's been 2 or 3 different murders people thought this was going to be. Now we found out what it is, but the details are still very light on that. And I'm still digging in to see if I can find more information about this. But anyway, another case that I covered on the channel very, very recently, extremely recent. This was a fresh off the presses situation. Basically was this TikTok influencer who had apparently done a murder for hire plot trying to kill her baby daddy, Gabby Gonzalez. So this is actually crazy. It turns out Gabby Gonzalez is already out of jail. She actually managed to post the $2 million bond that was being requested of her. And I just feel terrible for the baby daddy who had to endure, you know, 5 years of worrying about this girl having him killed. And now she's back out on bail. Like, that's ridiculous, okay? They need to put her under the jail. But anyway, okay, it says the influencer was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder. She was released from custody Friday just after 4 p.m. The judge set a series of conditions for Gabby's release during her arraignment on Thursday on top of the $2 million, including mandated GPS monitoring, an order to stay away from her daughter and the child's father, Jack Avery, and an order to not post about the criminal case on social media. I bet she's livid she can't post about it. So Gabby and her father, Francisco, and they're saying her friend, this was the boyfriend at the time, this is an ex-boyfriend now, were all arrested this week after trying to find a hitman to kill singer Jack Avery, Gabby's ex, who she has a child with. The two were engaged in a nasty custody dispute, and cops claim that Gabby's dad told her it'd be simpler just to get rid of Jack. Gabby and Kai approached an MMA fighter, Dustin Barker, to threaten Jack, but he said nah. Prosecutors claimed Gabby wanted proof Jack was dead, allegedly asked for a finger to prove he was dead, but no attempt on his life was ever carried out as far as they know. Jack broke his silence on social media Thursday, thanking law enforcement for keeping him and his family safe. So, man. So Gabby Gonzalez, she's due back in court. So she posted her bail last Friday. She's due back in court on July the 23rd. Apparently she'll be wearing an ankle monitor, and she, ongoing basis, has no contact with her daughter. The judge said they'll reassess that at her next hearing. I hope this judge ain't too soft, but I might pull up to that trial date as well. People saying, how is she allowed out of jail? She's proven to be a continuous threat. Says they'd make her bond. Her dad got big money. How did she post a $2 million bail so fast? You only need to put 10% down. They're saying her dad's a rich lawyer. So yeah, it's crazy. Okay. So I've got another case that I've not mentioned on this channel, but I would actually like to attend the courthouse trial, because I was actually around when this crime was committed, and I would like to see how this kind of comes to a close. So, in fact, the man who was accused of starting the wildfires in Los Angeles, or the Palisades fires, all these different fires that kicked off, okay, he apparently has been arrested, he's been identified, and he's going to be facing his day in court. And I want to go and see the guy who started the wildfires get put away, honestly. That's really what I
A California judge now barring some testimony from being entered in as evidence in the arson trial of the man accused of sparking that fire that eventually led to the deadly Palisades fire. Now, John Render was in court today in Los Angeles. He pleaded not guilty to 3 federal charges. Prosecutors say he ignited the fire on New Year's Day in 2025. It burned undetected underground at first before flaring back up a week later, becoming one of the most destructive wildfires in California history, killing 12 people. Now, today, the judge ruled against allowing the defense from introducing depositions by members of the fire department as evidence, calling that information irrelevant to the charges. Palisades fire has become a political flashpoint.
So, honestly, I was in LA on vacation when these wildfires were going on. I could see the fire in the Palisades from the window of my hotel. You know what I'm saying? We were big bossing up in the high-rise hotel. I could see the fire. I could see the embers on the first day, and then the next day I woke up, everything was grey. So I do actually want to see how this works out. I do think this guy's despicable. I didn't know that 12 people died in the fire. They need to get this guy on straight multiple manslaughter charges. Like, it's crazy. I didn't actually know that. So his trial date is set for June the 8th, and I might go and check that one out too. So it says, man accused of sparking LA's deadly Palisades fire appears in court ahead of arson trial. The man accused of sparking the deadly Palisades fire in Los Angeles is appearing in court for a preliminary hearing ahead of his arson trial next month. Look at this. It's so tragic, man. This is just, some people, they're just so bitter and jealous and hateful that they just want to tear everything down rather than building something great for themselves in life, you know. There's a tattered US flag flaps in the wind over remains of a mobile home park that was destroyed in the Palisades fire along the Pacific Ocean on December the 5th, 2025 in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles. You know what's crazy? When I was staying in LA, I was on a long, like a month-long trip, sort of vacation, doing some work and some podcasts and some vlogs and stuff. I actually remember I stayed in different areas of town. I stayed there for like 4 weeks. I was in a different area of town every week. And I stayed at a spot in the Palisades for a week at the start of my trip. And then I ended up staying at another spot, like some high rise. I could see the fire, and come to find out the Airbnb that I actually stayed in the weeks prior, burnt to the ground. They burnt to a crisp. I've wanted to go and actually have a look at the burnt out Airbnb that I stayed in, but a couple times I went to go look at it and it was all cordoned off. It's probably open now, but I've not had a chance to go back over there on this long stretch of being in LA. But anyway, I do want to keep up with this fire. So it says the man that was accused of sparking the deadly Palisades fire in LA appeared in court Wednesday for a preliminary hearing ahead of his arson trial next month. So Jonathan Rinderknecht has pled not guilty to starting what becomes one of the most destructive wildfires in California history. As a twisted fire starter. It begun on January the 7th, 2025. I remember I was there. I can't believe it. It burned through the hillside neighborhoods of the Pacific Palisades and Malibu and eventually killed 12 people. I didn't actually know that part of it. That's so sad. Prosecutors say Rinderknecht started the fire on January the 1st on New Year's Day, but it was undetected in deep root systems before flaring back up a week later. His attorney says he's been used as a scapegoat for the LA Fire Department's failure to fully extinguish the earlier blaze. An outline of the prosecutor's strategy with details about the defendant's alleged state of mind the night before the first fire begun appeared at an April 29th pre-trial memo filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Prosecutors will claim he was upset that he didn't have plans for New Year's Eve and ranted about being angry at the world before the initial blaze was sparked. So Rinderknecht's attorney, Steve Haney, has maintained his client's innocence, and Haney held a news conference in March pointing to a deposition in which a firefighter testified that he noticed the ground was still smoldering from the fire on January the 2nd and alerted a supervisor that there were hot spots despite the fact that the crews had left the scene. The testimony was gathered as part of a lawsuit filed by fire victims against the city. Haney said this evidence was not available to the defense when Rinderknecht was indicted last October. It's a long shot. I kind of hope that he goes down because I think we need to set a deterrent. You can't just set fire to LA and swan off into the sunset with an excuse and blame the firefighters. But, okay, if there is genuine evidence that this wasn't all his doing, then we're going to see. So that trial date is set for June the 8th. Now, there's a few trials that are going on in other cities. Now, as you know, or I do spend a decent amount of time in LA. I've got a lot of friends there. I'll be staying there quite a lot. I do be moving around a lot. Okay, obviously London is my, is my heart and soul in London, and Bognor and all that stuff, all my family in Bognor. But at the same time, all right, I'll be popping up in all types of different places all around the world. So I might fly out. And go and see the Pooh Shiesty case, potentially, okay? And it's pretty soon. So They're moving for a speedy trial. Pooh Shiesty and his co-defendants are set to stand in a federal court trial in Dallas on June the 6th, 2026. And if you don't know the whole story, this is all about the alleged robbery and kidnapping of Gucci Mane, who Pooh Shiesty was signed to. So this is the latest reporting on that. It says Dallas trial date set for rapper Pooh Shiesty in kidnapping and armed robbery Gucci Mane case. The trial date has been set after Pooh Shiesty allegedly pulled a gun during a contract dispute with Gucci Mane's record label in Dallas. Pooh Shiesty, legal name Lontrell Williams Jr., is one of 9 defendants charged in the January confrontation, which happened at a recording studio on Dallas Parkway. Pooh Shiesty is scheduled to stand trial in federal court in Dallas on July the 6th. The final pretrial conference is scheduled for July the 1st, according to court documents. So the official trial will be starting on July 6th. It's going to be a pre-trial conference on July the 1st. So the affidavit details allegations. Basically, it says Pooh Shiesty and the others planned a violent ambush, luring Gucci and his people to Texas for a business meeting. The victims, including Gucci Mane, whose real name is Radrick Davis, flew to Dallas to meet with Pooh Shiesty. Investigators said the suspects, including Pooh Shiesty and Big 30, another rapper, separated the victims when they entered the recording studio on Dallas Parkway. Pooh Shiesty allegedly took Gucci into a recording room while others remained in the control room, and inside the recording room, Pooh Shiesty allegedly pulled an AK-style pistol, forcing Gucci Mane to sign paperwork releasing him from his contract with Gucci's label 1017. As that was happening, prosecutors said the remaining suspects drew firearms and begun robbing others in the studio. Evidence leads to arrests. According to court documents, the evidence gathered in the case included the surveillance video, cell phone data, and social media posts made by the suspects. All 9 were taken into custody on April the 1st and the 2nd, and on April the 9th, a federal judge in Dallas ordered Pooh Shiesty to remain in custody pending trial. If convicted as charged, each defendant faces a maximum sentence of up to life in federal prison. Okay, so let me know in the comments. I will fly out to Memphis and watch the Pooh. No, it's Dallas. I will fly out to Dallas, Texas, to watch the Pooh Shiesty trial, even if it's just one day, couple dates. If you want me to do that, let me know down in the comments. Right? Let me vote on the other comments of stuff that you want me to do, and I'll just try and do what you guys want me to do. Okay, I'm a real bitch like that. Right? I'm just gonna submit to the chat. So there's one more case that I could fly out to if you want me to, all right? But also, you might not want me to. I'm, of course, talking about Chud, okay? Chud the Builder. He is currently, waiting to find out if he's going to get out of his bail, all right? Apparently, they're trying to pay his bond. But his case is actually now moving to the grand jury stage, okay? This says 5 highlights from courthouse shooting hearing and rules on high bail and grand jury video. Several developments came out of a hearing on Thursday for Dalton Levi Ethley, who was charged in a May 13th shooting outside the Montgomery Courthouse Courts Center. So Clarksville, Tennessee, several developments came out of a hearing Thursday for Dalton Levi Ethley, charged in a May 13th shooting outside the Montgomery County Courts Center. Ethley, 28, is charged with shooting Joshua Fox that afternoon in Millennium Plaza. On Thursday, his case was bound over to the grand jury and bail was reset at $1 million. Here's some highlights from that hearing. Okay. Surveillance cameras recorded the incident. Ooh, I didn't know that. Damn, this is like a big Chud update all of a sudden. So they're saying that the investigators testified video surveillance cameras did document the entire confrontation. It was about 1:15 p.m. when Ethley approached Fox with a selfie stick in his hand after a verbal altercation. Ethley walked away. Fox then approached him, and Ethley reached for a gun in his jacket pocket. Investigators said the men then began fighting, and as Fox took Ethley to the ground, a bullet could be seen ricocheting, and 7 shell casings were recovered at the scene, all 7 from the same gun. Now it says searchers find body armor and an airline ticket. Investigators searched Ethley's truck in his home. They found an airline ticket to Istanbul, Turkey, dated for a May 22nd departure. They also found a bulletproof vest, a rifle, a shotgun, ammunition, and a suspected bag of marijuana. They also recovered his electronic devices for evidence. Mobile forensics investigators showed court inflammatory racial videos and social media posts made in the weeks leading up to the shooting. One highlighted a post from early May that stated Ethley would use lethal force to defend himself and walk away. 3. Why Ethley's bail was set at $1 million. Initially, it was 1.25. Then they reset the bond to $1 million. He said that according to state law, if a defendant is out on bond on other charges, a bond for the new charges must be at least 2 times the customary amount. At the time of the shooting, Ethley was out on bond for an arrest in Nashville, where he was charged with disorderly conduct, resisting, and theft. In Clarksville, he also has a pending harassment case, which was bound over to the grand jury in April. In the May 13th courthouse incident, he's charged with attempted murder, employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, assault, reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, and according to his arrest warrant. It all adds up to a customary bond of around $500K, which the judge says the state requires to be doubled to $1 $1 million. The bond conditions include a gag order. They said if he makes bond, he'll have to wear a GPS monitor, relinquish all weapons and firearms. He'll be under a gag order with no interviews or social media activity about the incident. The gag order also applies to all witnesses in the case. Poland also said the passport application process will be stopped and rescinded if it's been issued. He can't even travel out of the country. And the judge said no money raised through crowdfunding after May 13 could be used towards the bond. He said a circuit court judge will take that matter up in a sourcing hearing. That is actually scary. So what's next? Grand jury hearing. Poland bound the case over to the grand jury, which will determine whether to formally indict Ethely on the charges. Grand juries are convened monthly, and each jury hears a wide variety of criminal cases. By state law, their proceedings are secret and not open to the public. If a formal indictment is issued, the indictment will be made public and a trial date will be scheduled. So maybe I'll wait and see what the grand jury say. I didn't know there was footage.
Anybody on that side of the bar does not have a speaking role in any of these proceedings today. There's not going to be any hoopla or shenanigans from the gallery. You're going to be removed, and I'll talk about that.
I'm not going to lie, yeah. If this is the judge on the Chud case, he might be getting
second. That's just not the way it works. We're going to have a orderly hearing today. If there's anybody speaking out or any kind of problem out in the gallery, that's going to be considered open contempt, and you're going to be subject to up to 10 days in jail or a $50 fine or both. All right, for the record, Mr. Ethely's now in the courtroom with by side Mr. Finley. General, how do you want to proceed with this morning? All right, we're ready.
Throughout the hearing, 2 people were escorted out for disruptions, and 1 man was taken into custody for contempt.
Please, thank you.
And the future justice.
All right, take him into custody. Take him into custody. I told you, sir, you did not have a speaking role today. You decided that you wanted one for whatever reason. I don't know why, but take him into custody.
He crack it out, man. Looks like he crack it out.
I think it's reasonable to have a gag order on the defendant should he make bond, and I guess even while he's in the jail and have.
Is this? Wait, that ain't a painting of the guy on the wall, is it? Wait. Maybe it's just an optical illusion, but I swear this looked like him on the wall.
The defendant should he make bond, and I guess even while he's in the jail and has.
It looks like he's on the wall, and it looks like he's like his son or something.
His, I don't know, iPad or whatever, but he cannot live stream, post, or anything that indirectly or directly encompasses these offenses.
Your Honor, but the First Amendment is very important to a free country. Without us being able to talk about ideas freely, we can't really be a free society. Now, I mean, repugnant ideas are still protected under rights of free speech, so people are free to go say whatever offensive things they want to say as long as it's not calling for someone to hurt somebody else.
That adds up to $500,000. Now, the same statute that we've been talking about has a section that says what must occur, not shall, not may occur. It says shall occur. 4011-118 says that the court shall, if the defendant is out on bond for other charges and commits 1 or more charges, that the bond will be set no lower than 2 times the customary amount. The court has no discretion in that matter.
Judge Poland set Ethely's bond at $1 million.
So we already know, right? He doubled the bond. He had to double the bond. That was a whole part of what's going on. But they're trying to get him out, okay? So they're now saying that apparently Crypto Casino Duel, all right, alongside the Gypsy Crusader, they're trying to help raise funds towards his $1 million bond. And basically it says, my sponsor Duel is actively trying to bail Chud out. They have the $1 million ready to go. They're just waiting for payment instructions through their lawyers. I can't put into words how grateful I will be if they make this happen. I'm very proud to work with Duel. So apparently they're looking to pay the $1 million bond and get him out here. He was apparently begging Aiden Ross, saying, look, I'll fight on your card if you just let me in. But here's the thing. Okay, prosecutors might be trying to revoke his bond in the separate harassment case to try and keep him in jail. This is like a little update. So the state filed a motion to revoke or increase bond on his earlier case. So that's going to be bad. And that's in relation to these harassment charges that he already had from November 2025. So that might make it harder for him to get out. But anyway, that was a full breakdown of all the cases that I'm following. Okay, if you want me to pull up and cover some of these cases in person, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what cases you want me to go to. I will pull up on every one of these people. I ain't scared, all right? I'll pull up. I'll see them face to face in the courtroom, all right? Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? They got metal detector. I'm good, all right? I'm not. I don't think anything's bad's going to happen to me if I pull up on these gangsters in court, all right, in shackles. I think I'm good. But anyway, I'll let you guys know which trials I'm going to go to. Let me know which ones you want to see me go to in the comments. I will keep you guys updated. This might become a weekly thing where I just give you a big update on all the trials that are going on, and then you can let me know which ones you're the most interested in, okay? There's actually one that didn't make it onto this list that I'm going to update you guys on when I get a minute, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of trials going on all around America. I'm going to try and pull up to as many as possible. So let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.